moderator for this webinar. I'm so excited to have you all joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We would love to hear your voices, but to ensure a smooth run, we will be operating on an only listen mode. So kindly help us drop your questions on the Q&A box. For those joining via YouTube, please help us drop your question via the comment section, and be sure that our esteemed team will respond to you during the Q&A session. Thank you. For those who don't know, this webinar is sponsored by Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited. Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited is a fund and portfolio management company that specializes in managing investments, assets, funds, and portfolios for both local and international investors. And we have branches in the United Kingdom and across the country, Nigeria as well. Now, without further ado, you would also, agree with me that the evolving financial landscape has made it imperative for a discussion on sustainability. And it is on this note that I would love to introduce you to our very well-researched team of panelists. Our first panelist today is our very own Abiola Oyekunle. Abiola is the head wealth management and advisory at Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited. She holds an MBA in strategic management from the European American University, and she has over 17 years of experience in the commercial banking industry. Welcome, Abiola, and thank you for bringing your light to our webinar today.
Thank you, Lillian. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Our second panelist is our very own esteemed Collins Olise. Collins is the head fund management, Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, and he brings to the table over 13 years of experience in the financial management industry. Thank you so much, Collins, for joining us. And how's Port Harcourt this morning?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lillian, for having me. Port Harcourt is good. Just the trend of the protest that is all over the country, but we are fine, thank God.
It's good to know you are safe. Thank you for joining us. Without further ado, let's dive into what we promised to be an impactful webinar. My first question is to you, Abiola.
Yeah.
Just said ladies first.
Yeah.
Let's start with the basics. What is sustainable investing?
Okay, thank you, Lillian. Sustainable investing is also called responsible investing. Okay, it's an investment approach that considers the long-term impacts of investments on the environment, the society, and on governance. The ESG factors. Of course, in addition to financial returns, it aims to protect the environment, promote social justice and human rights, and also supports good governance and ethical business practices. It seeks to mitigate, the risk factors associated with the ESG, and also to take advantage of sustainable trends and collaborations and technology that sustainable trends also give as an opportunity. And basically, the goal of sustainable investing is to ensure good financial performance, while contributing to a more sustainable and equitable future. So like I say, it's a double-edged sword, all right? While you're making money, you're also ensuring that, you're funding projects and businesses that are, having impacts on the environment, on the society, and on governance. So that is basically what sustainable investing is all about.
Thank you, Abiola, for that response. Indulge us, Collins. Abiola has actually mentioned what sustainable investing is, but we would also like to have your insights and also, enlighten us on why you think sustainable investing is important.
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. So I quite agree with Abiola on her views, and sustainable investing, like you asked, is important because it aligns investors' financial goals and values. It also promotes responsible business practices as to reflect in our daily mechanism for financial discipline. In alignment with the ESG goals, that's talking about environmental, social governance, the goals and in compliance to that, sustainable investing encourages community engagement, integrates ESG factors to enhance risk management and potential returns. It identifies potential risk and opportunities, minimizing negative impacts. And in one way, too, it adopts, in adopting sustainable investing, it makes investor a contributor to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which supports global efforts to addressing pressing social and environmental challenges. So, in incorporating sustainable investing practices, investors can make a positive impact while pursuing long-term financial returns. So, to me, sustainable investing is a need because it is part and parcel of our daily financial discipline. It helps you to plan, it helps you to budget, and also helps you to execute your budgeted plans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Collins, for that detailed response. To our attendees, now that we all have an idea, or now that we have more insights into what sustainable investing is, would you rate yourself as a sustainable investor over the years, or would you rate yourself as an investor, that goes all out in when he or she is investing? Let us put a yes or no to the question on the chat box. We would take the results towards the Q&A session. Now let's proceed. Back to you, Abiola. Collins has actually mentioned the importance of this sustainable investing. But do you actually think this sustainable investing, fits into the Nigerian investment landscape?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You would agree with me that Nigeria has very unique economic and environmental challenges, which actually present us with both opportunities and risk in sustainable investing. We have our environmental challenges such as the climate change, resource depletion, pollution. Our country is also faced with social challenges, poverty, inequality. I mean, the gap keeps widening by the day, and the access to basic, services, amenities, healthcare, infrastructural development. And so sustainable investing is actually, areas that sustainable investing can support, okay, when we, start to, own our challenges and we're looking for solutions that, address them sustainably. That is exactly what we're talking about. It's also relevant sustainable investing is relevant in addressing our growing need for Nigeria economy to be diversified beyond oil. Okay, these are critical issues for us. And that is why we're talking about sustainable investing, to create awareness and highlight the challenges that we have as a nation, so that we as Nigerians can begin to address our own problems. And on the national, on the global scale, Nigeria can benefit from the global sustainability investing trends and collaboration. We can attract foreign investors that are seeking sustainable investment opportunities. And you would agree that our varied problems, challenges, they are the massive investment opportunities, right? Okay, so and we can also posture to take advantage of the expertise and knowledge sharing at the global stage and access green financing options which supports sustainable projects. So in a nutshell, I would say Nigeria can actually align with global sustainable investing standards to enhance our investment landscape.
Wow, impressive. Thank you, Abiola. You actually spoke on the wide scale. Let's bring it home a bit, like related to our own individual and clients' interests. What trends do you see in clients' interest, regarding their sustainable investment options?
Okay, so what we're doing here is to create more awareness, but kudos to the Nigerian investors. There's actually a growing interest amongst, the Nigerian clients in sectors like renewable energy, the fintech, agrotech. You see them springing up, every now and then, which is basically driven by the need for sustainable solutions to our own local challenges. So clients are increasingly looking for, investment that contributes to national priorities, like I earlier highlighted, and such as access to energy, food security. Can we talk about that? You remember the tomato issue? This trend is actually a reflection of a broader shift towards integrating personal values with investment choices, putting our money where our mouths are, right? So it's ultimately aiming for a more positive impact for Nigeria. So we're calling on patriots that are willing and happy, and passionate about fixing our own problems. Okay. And the Nigerian government are not also left behind. When we are saying positives from them, we should also highlight that because we've seen some initiatives coming from the Nigerian government in the sustainable space, like the Nigerian Sustainability Banking Principle, which is also encouraging sustainable principles, in that space, in the banking industry. So yeah, I would say yes. And we're also hoping and believing that by the time we're done with this seminar, a lot more, seasoned investors and aspiring ones, and also we'll see more traction. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Abiola, for those clear-cut response. Things Abiola has actually mentioned, and she also talked a lot about, the noticeable shift in clients' interest regarding integrating, their personal values with their investment choices. And, she has also highlighted the importance of ESG in sustainable investing. You, from a vantage point as a fund manager, how do you prioritize ESG factors when selecting your investments?
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. First of all, I want to say that fund management practice is a universal or global practice, although its social impact and factors are relative to the environmental, cultural values, as well as leadership structure peculiar to that environment. So at Emerging Africa Capital, we prioritize ESG factors by assessing their direct impact on long-term financial performance and societal benefits. Environmental factors like water usage, pollution control, all these are crucial, especially in industries such as agriculture and oil. We conduct a comprehensive assessments, including site visits and stakeholders interviews to understand local challenges and opportunities. So in this way, it helps us to identify areas where ESG improvements can be driven and how it can as well drive significant economic and social value. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Collins. In furtherance to your response, you would agree with me that several infrastructure bonds have been floated across Nigeria within the past 10 years. The Access Green Bond, the FGN Green Bond, the NSP, SPV Power Corp, all launched in 2019 and all geared towards the ESG sustainability. What impact do you think this will have on development of infrastructure? Given that the World Bank estimates that Nigeria needs to spend at least 10 billion USD dollars in the next 30 years to, bridge the infrastructure gap.
Well, thank you. This is okay. Now, I often hear these numbers bandied around every year. These conversations are usually centered around infrastructural deficits in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And I always say that trying to finance that gap is going to be a tough sell for African governments, even in conjunction with private sectors. But it all boils down to the quality of the bankability of the projects. From an investment perspective, the principles are essentially the same. So the major thing with infrastructure investment is that it is a long term. You agree with me on that? African governments usually finance infrastructure in two major ways. One of those ways is the issuance of instruments in the international capital markets. The second way is providing sovereign guarantees on infrastructure projects. However, or whichever approach, it is still a trial to get international investments into their local markets. Now, whether it is countries like Nigeria, Ghana, or Zambia issuing bonds, the real danger with that is the challenge of long-term fiscal stability and whether a country can service its obligations internationally. Of course, you and I know what happened to the sovereign Eurobonds of our neighboring country here, Ghana, where a lot of restructuring meetings were held, even with the IMF and World Bank input and all that. Bring it down home here, our immediate environment. Can we also feel the sustainability going by what is even going on now? Okay, you talked about World Bank forecasting 10 billion annually for the next 30 years, right? Is that what you said? Now,
Yes, exactly.
if you say that, so the period of the 30 years, what kind of leadership and climate will you have in Nigeria? Taking Nigeria, for example. The tempo of the current environment, will it run or sustain all through the 30 years? That's the question. And going by the current happening, do you see such 10 billion annual forecast working out accurately over the 30 years? So in all of that, really, suppose I am coming in as an international investor to finance a large scale of infrastructure projects in the power sector, for example. Further down the value chain, particularly on the collection side, there must be a structure that allows the last mile provider to collect proceeds of the service that is being provided, because guess what? It filters through to the rest of the value chain. I think Nigeria as a country needs to do more in terms of attracting investments in specialized investment vehicles, such as infrastructure funds. There needs to build trust, move away from economic forecast and do more of economic practice. Days of trial and error should be over by now. That's my point of view. So at Emerging Africa Capital, we mean more of practicability and transactions that filter into the society and create value. That's major of the focus. Like we currently have the Emerging Africa Infrastructure Fund, which stands for Emerging Africa, which aims to mobilize like a 10 billion in the series one of the 50 billion fund program. The fund is structured to provide an investment platform for domestic and international high net worth investors to invest in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. So we are already targeting sectors like the transportation, clean techs, and power, renewable energy as is becoming a trend now. So overall, the fund is constituted under a trust deed and registered with SEC. I'm sure you know, and a couple of people already know that. So this is to enable access to a broad pool of investable capital for an average tenure of 10 years. Do you understand? So the ripple effect of this kind of program or this kind of arrangement is unimaginable. And that is what I refer to as societal or social value. So that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Collins. Thank you. Thank you. Abiola, Collins have spoken extensively, on this long-term investment. But recently, you would notice that inflation is currently trending, upwards due to prevailing macroeconomic conditions, and at least headline inflation is currently at 34.19%. What is really your outlook on investment patterns, given your experience as a wealth creator and a wealth manager?
Okay, thank you, Lillian. So from a pure economic standpoint, the moment you have inflation rates at 30%, above 30% levels, then you have treasury bills hovering around 19%, 20%. Then there is a gap, which essentially means that the marginal propensity to save, which is a function of interest rates, would reduce. and the marginal propensity to consume increases because there's really no motivation and inspiration to, invest. The rates, the interest rate is no longer interesting.
Exactly.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
All right. So, but then having said that, I think there's a shift. I mean, a shift towards short-term investments, such as the money market funds, the commercial papers, and the short-term bonds will be preferred, to edge inflation, over the long term, because it gives you liquidity and also reduces the risk of capital erosion. All right. So, and we've also seen, a surge in foreign investment. A lot of people are, becoming, coming into that space, foreign stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, because diversifying internationally can also help you to edge against local inflation. Okay, so in summary, I would say in an environment of rising inflation, what you want to do first and foremost is to preserve your capital and also ensure that you have a return that either matches or exceed inflation, right? So, and as relationship manager, it's very critical that we, advise our clients adequately, about the dynamics of, being able to marry their risk tolerance with their investment choices and financial, their long-term financial goals. There has to be, a congruence of that. So that is why we're here, and that's what we do at Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, because it's essential that, we advise our clients to be able to understand the dynamics of inflation and how, how it impacts and where and what to invest in. So you can call on us.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you. I liked where you said when the interest rates are no longer interesting. So, well, okay, you also mentioned that at Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited that you try, to balance your clients' risk appetite with also their financial returns. And but I would really love to know, indulgence, how do you really balance, your pursuit for financial returns with your considerations for the sustainable investing as well as your considerations for the social and environmental impact?
Right. So what we do is that we balance the objectives by investing in Nigerian companies that are committed to sustainable practices and, of course, show strong growth potential. Like I said, it's not a charity call. While on one hand, you're trying to make impact in the world, but then it's also, the bottom line is essential. So we're not blinded to that fact. We're not only looking for those companies that are investing in sustainable practices, but that also show strong growth potential. So for instance, we focus on firms that innovate in sustainable agriculture and clean energy, because these are crucial for Nigeria's long-term development. So by supporting these businesses, we contribute to economic resilience and social progress. We achieve the dual, like I said, the double-edged sword, the dual benefit of financial performance and also impact. That's the balance.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for that detailed response. Collins, speaking about businesses that contribute to economic resilience and social progress, as alluded by Abiola, what metrics do you look out for as a fund manager in assessing these ESG compliance companies that she mentioned?
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. So, in assessing ESG compliant companies, we rely on several metrics to assess such companies. One of it is from like a third-party ESG rating agency. So, like there was a recent account that was a rating framework that was published by Analyst Data Services and Resources. Analyst Data Services and Resources is a data and research company. According to that report, Access Bank, Dangote Cement, GSK, PZ, and AXA Mansard were the top 5 companies that got the highest ESG rating for 2023. So you see, data like this are periodically collated, analyzed, and shared for our internal use in assessments. Apart from these third-party reports, too, we also evaluate the composition of the board of such entity under our assessments, ensuring there is a good mix of independent and executive directors that provide robust oversight. We could also, evaluate the extent of a company's engagement with local communities. And at this point, I would like to give an example with the biggest telecom company in Nigeria. Sorry, I don't want to mention them. I'm sure you know. So using them as an example, they have a foundation where they focus majorly on several community development projects. And these initiatives are focused on education and healthcare. So by these actions that you can easily see, that automatically tells you that the degree of which they engage in environmental activities. So if you want to deal with them, you already know their social services as well as the humanity impact of those actions. So you are able to dissect your business or partnership structure that you want to, go into with such organization. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So our attendees, our poll is still up. We're expecting more tractions and response from you. I'm still with you, Collins. Given the increasing importance of ESG in investment decisions, have you, as a fund manager at Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, had to either resell, rebalance, or re-strategize, specifically due to ESG consideration?
Yes, and so this is what we do at Emerging Africa Asset Management. ESG considerations play a crucial role in our investment decisions. We have a balanced fund, for example, and even our recently launched halal fund, which has to comply with Sharia or Islamic principles, where some of those securities like the musharakat, the related, the mudarabas, and all that must comply with some of those structures that you can bring in management of those funds. So the upholding all ESG parameters in terms of investing, the most important thing to note is that we usually divest when we analyze and see reason to divest. And I can tell you that we have divested from companies operating in sectors with high negative social impacts. Yes. We are also currently in process of, profiling some existing counterparties, which we do periodically, and also the newly onboarded ones to make sure that they are ESG compliant and to some extent. Additionally, we have invested in companies with exemplary governance practice, as we believe strongly governance is a key indicator of sustainable business performance. So just like I pointed out earlier, our corporate governance structure is usually a guide to all our investment principles. And if any counterparty is not in conformity with these principles, as we carry out this analysis, we cannot engage. And if along the way, as we carry our periodic profiling too, we see some lapses or deviation from the principles that we have incorporated in our corporate governance structure that are not found in some of course, we must rebalance and divest accordingly.
Are you still with us?
Yes,
we can't hear you. Okay. Thank you very much for your response. Thank you. Abiola, I think I'll come to you now. Collins have actually told us a lot about these ESG compliance companies. And then you both have also spoken extensively on the need for sustainable investing. Well, as coming from the client's perspective, what's approach or how do you really educate your clients about the needs and benefits for this sustainable investment, not just going out and investing? How really do you educate them on the need for this sustainable investing?
All right, thank you, Lillian. So we hold webinars such as this.
Okay.
We have seminars. workshops that highlight the unique opportunities and challenges in Nigeria, such as the potential for impacts in our local communities. And also we highlight the uncertainties that's associated with emerging markets. We also utilize the digital platforms. They greatly enhance our ability to connect to a wide spectrum of clients, across Nigeria and even, in the diaspora. Like you mentioned in the introductory message, emerging Africa has presence in about 5 of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, and also we're located in the UK, and which has given us the opportunity to also reach, regardless of where people are located. We have such platforms that you can engage at touch points. I mean, via virtual meetings, consultations, and this has made it easy for a lot of, for us to have a wider reach. So that's how we're able to reach, clients and educate them, and also sharing, our products. Like colleagues had mentioned, recently launched Allow Fund. Allow Fund is, it focuses on ethical and socially responsible investing in alignment with Islamic values. And we also have our Diversity Funds, which is also, a gender biased fund that invests in companies. So yeah, we have those products. This is one of our core values. And we also have the platforms, to reach you regardless of, where you're located.
Interesting. Thank you. Collins, as a fund manager,
Are you still with me? I can't hear you again. Hello? I can't hear you again. I can't hear you. Huh? Can you hear them? I can't hear you. Ah, I can't
hear us
hear.
now? Is it clearer
Okay,
now?
yes, I think it's back now. But at a point, I didn't hear anything that you said before. Please, can you repeat yourself, please? I'm sorry. I think there
Problem.
were technical glitches. Yeah.
No problem. That's no problem. So let me recap. I mentioned that Abiola stated that you at Emerging Africa Asset Management that you use avenues like this webinar, personal consultations and trainings, to educate clients on the need for sustainable investing. So, we would love to know and love to hear your insights on, okay, when these clients now come to Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, how do you, diversify their investments, and also how do you ensure that the investments, align with their investment goals?
Okay, thank you very much. So, diversification to us is a very crucial strategy for managing risk and enhancing returns within investment portfolios. Mind you, first of all, you have to identify the risk appetite of these clients and then know their investment goals. Some of them have long-term approach, some of them have just focusing on a short-term but a very high returns, which is to say that you have to marry all that in trying to, engage their funds. So in Emerging Africa Asset Management, we employ a multifaceted approach to diversification, focusing on several key areas. First of all, let me talk about asset class diversification. So We invest across various asset classes, including equities, fixed income, and money market, and all of that, both CP and treasury bills and all that. This helps mitigate the risk associated with any single asset class. For example, while equities might offer high growth potential, fixed income securities tend to provide stability and sustainable income. With this strategy, you play safe and maximize their returns. Then you talk about when you also want to go into instrument selection. You will be very, very specific, and you choose specific instruments, and this we can assess the outlook of these instruments, and based on rigorous analysis, our robust research team are always there on ground, giving us daily analysis of some of these instruments. For example, the fixed income securities, we evaluate credit ratings, we check about interest rate trends, and we also check about the credibility of the issuer and the stability of doing business in the country. For equities, we also consider company fundamentals, including industry trends and ESG performance. With this, you are able to rebalance where and whenever it is necessary. Then you talk about profiling for maybe new companies or new entrants. That is maybe a new issue that is coming into the market. So for newly onboarded companies, we conduct thorough due diligence to ensure alignment with our investment goals. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a very robust investment principle that derives actions from our corporate governance structure. And periodically, we review and analyze entities on or our counterparties to ascertain growth, compliance with all the principles that we believe in, as well as various risk factors and their mitigants. So finally, we continuously also do what we call monitoring. Monitoring helps us to rebalance when necessary. Our portfolios, we try to adapt to changing market conditions. And when opportunities come, we dive into such opportunities. And that's why when we analyze some of these trends and see the projections, there are some times that we can advise our clients to go short, because we are not very certain of what the market is going to be, even in the next 30, 60, 90 days. So the trend is for us to go short and be watching the market. We can be doing a 30 days. And whenever we also see that where we are now is like the best of the market has gotten to the peak, and within a couple of days, the market can begin to come down. We also take advantage of that and lock in long term. And with that, we are able to secure a very good return for our clients. So it's all about adjusting asset allocations based on performance and real review, monitoring, and all that. That's the strategy that we use to be able to return value to our clients. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Collins, for that detailed and well-researched response. I really enjoyed that. I mean, I would also like us to go on and on, but it's like we are running short of time already, you know. At this juncture, please help us put all your questions on the Q&A box. Please, for those using YouTube, please help us to put your questions on the comment section. Please. We are gradually approaching the Q&A session. But before we do that, you know, Abiola, any final words for us?
Absolutely. So my final words will be a call to action for everybody. So we've been on and on about sustainable investing, what it's all about, and how it's essential for us as a nation. You know, the importance and the opportunities, you know, that are also in that space. So now it's time to take action. Having said all of that, okay, so let us harness the power of sustainable investing to drive meaningful change. And together we can create a future where prosperity and sustainability are synonymous. You're making money and you're making impact. Isn't that a beautiful thing? It's a beautiful place to be. So please, it's a call. And to start your journey is not an Herculean, task. We have our products like we highlighted earlier, our Allow Fund. With just 10,000, you start investing sustainably. With our biodiversity fund as well, you know, the barrier to entry is there's no barrier, absolutely, you know, and the returns are also fantastic. So that would be my work. Let's do this and continue to shape a better future for everybody.
I mean, let our money work for us. I mean, as low as 10,000 impact. So with as low as 10,000 naira, we could actually start making, you know, impact.
And we are earning.
And we are earning as well.
Yes.
That's actually beautiful, you know. Collins, you know, any last insights for us before we enter the Q&A session?
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. So my final words will come in a way like an outlook. Let me say that the sustainable investing landscape in Nigeria is evolving, and several trends such as renewable energy, investments in green infrastructure initiatives, sustainable agriculture, as well as government support will shape its future. Nigeria has abundant renewable energy potential, including solar, wind, and hydropower. We should increase our focus on clean energy projects to address power deficits and reduce carbon emissions. Investments in sustainable infrastructure such as eco-friendly buildings, waste management systems, and efficient transportation networks are also areas that Nigeria should focus on. Nigeria, as it is, presents a promising prospect for sustainable investments, driven by environmental consciousness, policy support, just like I've talked about before, and the need for resilient infrastructure. And just like I said, let's move away from try and error and focus more on actions and actionable policies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Collins. Thank you so much, Abiola, for gracing us with your wealth of experience. I mean, it's really been worthwhile, you know, having to tap a little from this your wealth of experience. I'm so glad. Thank you for making our time to join us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Collins.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so without, I will move now to the Q&A section. Try to bring up the questions. Just keep the questions coming in. I'm trying to pull up the questions on the screen. Okay, Collins, Danny is asking, what laws does Nigeria have or put in place against SDG non-compliant companies? You know, because you still hear every now and then about the degradation in some parts of the country, such as water, air, land pollution due to the activities of some countries.
I am not very certain that Nigeria has legally binding guidelines regarding how best companies should be ESG compliant. Just like I said before, the ESG environment is evolving. It is quite a new terrain in Nigeria. So the reporting is still in its early stage of development in Nigeria. In fact, the Nigerian Stock Exchange encourages companies to voluntarily disclose ESG-related information in their annual reports. So if I want to talk about real policy, so to speak, governments, I can only relate to the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, which relaunched the Nigerian Gas Flare Commercialization Program. I think that happened in 2022. and that was to drive Nigeria's commitment to end routine gas flaring and support the imperatives of the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. So apart from this, I am not very certain if there's a legislation or anything that has gotten to, close to a particular law stamped for the purpose of that. No, I'm not sure I have that. This is the only one that is close. Thank you.
Very much, Collins. John, I hope that answers your question. I think we'll be taking this one for Abiola before we wrap up. Abiola, Dami is asking, could you throw more light on the Halal Fund and the Balanced Fund, especially as it relates to ESG impacts in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for the question. So like I said initially, the Allow Fund focuses on ethical and socially responsible investing in alignment with Islamic values and principles, which prohibit certain, activities, investing in some, so there are some organizations that are considered as haram, which means forbidden. Okay, that's an Arabic word. And those, so this investing, this mode of investing forbids us to invest in companies that are involved with alcohol, gambling, child trafficking, so those, that is addressing some social, being socially responsible and ethical businesses, right? And so it avoids any investment that earn or pay interest. So here it is like the equity, ownership, part ownership of the business is the preferred, way, not rather than earning interest. So you are allowed, you can actually part, own the business and then you share profits. So that is what is, obtainable, in this space. And also for the biodiversity fund, it's a gender biased fund that invests in companies with significant representation of women in their board and management, to close the equality gap, right? If you're very familiar with the top management of most organizations, you'll see more men than, we're not here, we're not against the male gender, right? But then, equality,
Inclusion of women.
Women, and that's it. So that is what this fund, invest the kind of companies that this fund, invest in majorly. So if it's a passion for you, feel you're driven towards, just giving the women a voice and you want to support women-led companies, this fund is actually for you. So these are just some of, our own way of contributing to the sustainable investing, campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abiola. Thank you. Okay, so from the results of our poll, the results is out. We had 64 persons voting yes to sustainable, that they are sustainable investors. I mean, kudos, kudos. And we have 36 persons saying no. Okay, well, what we can say is whether you've been one or if you've not been a sustainable investor, we want you to take this as a clarion call, your call to action to not just make investments, but to make investments that has impact. So we would also want you to, and we also hope that, from this webinar, you've been able to, get one or two insights, that would help you in your investment journey. So on behalf of, because of time, we're already out of time. Please, we are pleading, please help us drop your questions and your email address and be sure that we'll get back to you with the answers. And also, if you want a recap and the recording of this webinar, it will also be shared to you via your email. So please help us, follow us on all our social media platforms, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We are active and we are always available to take all your questions regarding your investment journey. I would also be happy if you can start your investment journey with us today. We're always ready 24/7, to help you kickstart your investment. And for your observations or any other questions or any other topic you would like us to, take in subsequent webinars. Please feel free to actually get back to us at assetmanagement@emergingafricagroup.com, and be sure we would attend to you. On behalf of the sponsor of this webinar, Emerging Africa Asset Management Limited, I would really love to say thank you from the bottom of my hand, from the bottom of my heart, for your participation in this session. We look forward to seeing you in our next session. Please do take care of yourself, and please stay safe. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Collins, and thank you, Abiola, for having to do this with me.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Have a great day ahead.
Bye.